What's going on, faithful? This is your boy Mike from the Nothing But Niners crew. We are all here. Well, not all of us, but we have three of us here tonight. I am joined by my guys. Ali, what's going on, baby? How you doing?
What up, man? How you doing?
I'm all right. And I got my guy Nick right here by my side. As a matter of fact, let me take this feature off so you guys can see me and Nick in the big screen here. We're going to be talking a couple of things with you guys tonight. And the first topic is going to be about an article that was posted on nothingbutniners.com. And that was Kyle Shanahan, the odd man out. But before we get into that, how you guys doing tonight? Nick, what's going on with you, man?
What's going on, man? What's going on? I think I brought the rain back up here with me coming from Florida because it's rainy season down here. So it's been nonstop raining since visiting, but it's good. Got to see some family. Got to meet up with Mike.
That's
right. Do a pod.
All right. Happy Father's Day to you, man. Happy Father's Day, man.
Thanks, sir. Thanks. Same to you.
Thank you very much, man. Ali, happy Canada Day. I don't know what to tell you.
It's coming up, man. It's coming up. Not too long. Canada Day, long weekend.
There you go. What do you ever go?
What's coming up? Father's Day for you?
Canada Day.
Oh, Canada.
Canada Day, July 1st. All right. You want me to sing the Canadian national anthem?
No, sir. No, sir.
No.
Hey, let me ask you a question though. Since we're talking about Canadian festivals, you ever go to Caravana?
No, I have not.
No, I want to go so bad. So if you ever decide that you want to go, tell my wife that you have an emergency so I can join you and help you out, okay? Because she's not going to try to let me run around out there with all the beautiful women in Canada, all right?
Absolutely.
Let's not get too far sidetracked. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So again, this is the 49ers YouTube page. We're going to be going ahead and talking about Kyle Shanahan. So there's this article up there. Make sure you guys check that out and subscribe, okay? And it's pretty much basically talking about how the pressure is on Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan was the hottest head coaching candidate going into this offseason, and the 49ers landed him, right? But let's start at the top. Jed York, everyone knew Jed York was going to blow it. When the conversation was about the 49ers potential head coach candidates and GM candidates, one of the guys that was out there was Tom Cable. Do you guys remember when Tom Cable was considered a legitimate 49ers head coaching candidate?
Everybody was scared to death.
Yeah. And so everyone knew, like, of all the candidates, he was the worst one, and everyone was like, you know what, that's the guy Jed York is going to get. It's a Jed York thing to do, right? But it turns out that Jed York knocked it out of the park. Jed York actually did his thing. He was the guy who came through in the clutch, and not only did he land the top head coaching candidate, let's be honest, he got the GM that everyone is fawning over. The females are falling over themselves looking at this guy. He's a good-looking, charming guy. He's very well-spoken. You know,
Captain America.
Exactly, Captain America. What can't this man do? And it seemed like Jed York happened to, just nail it, right? All right, so what is Jed York supposed to do after he hires the perfect head coach candidate and the perfect GM candidate? And let them work, right? Have you heard from Jed York as far as football operations since it's happened?
Other than the state of the franchise, no.
Nolly?
No, I haven't really heard from him.
Nothing. Political tweets. He's minding his own business. He's doing a personal thing and letting the football people run football operations, right? And that's exactly what you want. So Jed York is doing his job. He's learning it, and he's doing a good job of not doing anything. He's doing a good job of not doing anything. And so that takes us to the GM now, right? Because the GM was hired before the head coach. And I'll be completely honest with you guys. When I heard that we were hiring Kyle Shanahan, you know what, Ali, let's start with you. What did you think about the hiring of the GM and John Lynch? Now, this is before Kyle Shanahan was hired, so everyone was kind of a little, we were a little uneasy. We thought maybe Jed York actually blew it. Like, what were your thoughts there, man?
Instant reaction. I was just taken back. I didn't know how to feel. I was just like, I didn't really get it at first, but then, I digged a little deeper, and I just looked and said, it worked in Denver with John Elway. So let me give it a chance. Let me look into it. Before I judge and say, oh no, this is the worst hire ever. Let's see what he does, and let's see I knew that Kyle Shanahan was coming in, so I said, you know, these guys must have a chemistry or must have some sort of connection, because they've always had nothing but great things to say about each other. And so right away I was like, I didn't have a reaction. I was shocked, like the rest of the fan base, but I was just looking. I thought that I looked into it and I just said that, you know, let me give him a chance, and look how it's played out so far.
Absolutely. So Nick, come on, bud. What are you doing, man? So Nick, what were your thoughts, man? So you got a chance to see it, and like Ali said, you know, I think everyone was a little befuddled. You know, we were baffled at. No.
No, I mean, if you guys can remember, like one of our first pods when we were doing that, I was actually really excited about it, and everybody was like, they weren't excited because they're like, what?
Go ahead, Nick.
What's so funny?
I don't know what Nick's problem is. I'm not gonna lie.
I think Mike will.
Come on, man. What happened?
You. All right, so. All right, for real though.
I'm not even doing. All right.
All right, no, but seriously, I was actually super pumped about it because a lot of people are like, what the hell? Like, who is this guy? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? What? Like, it was jaw dropping for a lot of people. So, but knowing the background on John Lynch and knowing how much how hard he worked at every step that he did, you know, from Stanford to Tampa to Denver to going from and broadcasting to the top, you know, being a co-host. He puts that work ethic in. He knows the football. He knows the game of football. He knows a lot of people in the NFL, speaking wise, to you know, whether it be coaches or quarterbacks or pregame warm-ups for their show. So I was kind of interested in the hire, and I thought that because we came from we came from the back door.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I definitely came from the front door.
Yeah. Well, so we came in the backside, and bad choice of words.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah. So I thought it was different, and I thought that's what we needed at the time. It was like everybody was projecting us to hire this guy and this guy and this guy, and Jed York threw that little curveball out there. So once he threw that curveball out there, I was like, this guy's really meaning business because he sees something, and Kyle Shanahan sees something. So I was excited about it. I didn't really have any bad thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I know that when I first saw it, I was like, why? I was thinking about staff or whatever his name was from Green Bay. There was Wolf from Green Bay. There was what was his name from Minnesota? I can't remember the names right now, but there was this plethora of what I thought were GMs for the position, and then Jed York goes and hires some guy from a TV broadcast. You know, and I'm not going to lie to you. I went to a little bit of a panic mode, but it turns out after you watch the first round of the draft and then you see the rest of the draft, that not only does this guy swing for the fences, but he also drafts for need. And I know that a lot of times when people say, oh, you should draft for best player available, I don't always like that, because if the best player available is a defensive lineman and you've drafted defensive lineman for the last 2 years in the first round with your number 1 overall pick, first round, I felt like you don't need to do that.
Right.
And so when he started and he drafted Solomon Thomas after we went Armstead and Buckner, I was a little taken aback. And it's not that I didn't see a need for someone like Solomon Thomas, but I felt like there were other things that this team needed a little bit more. Moved back up, and he got Reuben Foster. I can see a little bit of the genius at work here. You know, when you look at the rest of the moves that he made along the way, and he went and got the prototypical, and I'm saying that as a numbers perspective, DB. Then he went and got the quarterback that would be the most pro-style ready quarterback in this draft. You know what I mean? Like, he went and he followed what seemed to be a recipe, and I could understand the method to his madness. And so I suddenly was very impressed with John Lynch. And this is just a draft. Moves he made before that and the free agents that he acquired.
Right, because I mean, when was the last time that we had a free agency
as busy
blowout?
as yeah.
Well, let's be honest. He over the whole roster.
Oh,
or
yeah.
majority of it.
That's right.
Right.
They're saying, you know, over 50% of this roster is new now. You know, so I mean, when you sit there and you see what he's done so far, you have to be impressed with the job that John Lynch has done. And so if you're going to compliment John Lynch, you absolutely have to compliment Jed York for having the balls to make that hire, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it takes me. Now, before we move on to Kyle Shanahan, we have a comment here from a Louis Soto. He said, "I was shocked, mad, confused, but when I heard he would bring Adams and Mayhew, I was like, dang." And that's another perspective right there. Look at the people that he surrounded himself with in that front office.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Mayhew was known for his failures in Detroit. You know, so if he's taking the same exact steps that Mayhew did, who better to have than someone who failed in that position? You might not be able to tell me exactly what to do, but you can tell me what not to do. You know, and so that was very impressive also. So, Louis, you're absolutely right there, you know. And then Adam Peters, I mean, holy smokes. Like, when that Adam Peters has been involved with and the progress that those teams have made since he joined them, I was extremely confident with John Lynch going forward. So, again, we're talking about who he surrounded himself with as far as his staff. We're talking about what he did as far as free agency. We're talking about the first round of the draft and throughout the entire draft process. A+. John Lynch, A+. Kyle Shanahan's got the question mark. You can't tell me that there's no pressure on Kyle Shanahan, hottest candidate, and now he's got to do something. Right. So that's what I want to talk about, Ali, man. Let's start with you. You're hoping to see from Kyle Shanahan. Do you think that momentum is flowing and Kyle Shanahan all of a sudden has to produce? He has to put up something.
Well, I think of every coach that was hired this offseason, Kyle Shanahan has the most pressure on him. I feel that way. And the expectations, because of the hype and buildup of what we've done in the offseason and what we've done in the draft, it's huge. So I think the pressure on him is huge. And I feel that if this team struggles out of the gate, that pressure will only build. And, you know, so the pressure on him to implement his system that he did in Cleveland, in Washington, in Atlanta, and he's been successful implementing that system and bringing that over is huge. So take into consideration, he doesn't have the pieces that he did in Atlanta, but the pressure is for him to bring that on as a first-time head coach is with that offensive side of the ball. He's huge on that. And that defense, let's be honest, on paper, it's no slouch. We've got first-round picks all up and down that roster. So if anybody's saying that this shouldn't be a top 15 defense, I'd like to compare rosters just on paper and tell me why. Because this is going to be a top 15 defense in this league this year.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe higher.
You look at we have
so like the way the amount of pressure that Shanahan has going into this season is huge. It's monumental. Because and especially in his first season, the fan base wants to see something. They want to see what this guy can bring. So if he struggles in this first season, I guarantee you this time next year, people are going to be like, oh, you know, Shanahan was the wrong hire. Look at this guy. Look what he did. But, you know, patience is going to be a virtue here. Give this guy time to implement his system on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it, man. And Louis, again, what we're talking about here is the pressure being on head coach Shanahan, man. He's got to come through with his staff. And this is not just about the offense either. Like Ali said, we believe the defense is going to be okay. There's a lot of first-round picks invested in it. Nick, if you want to run through those really quick, just off the top of your head, the first-round picks that have been invested in the defense. You know, I mean, that's all Trent Baalke did.
Yeah. You know, we got Tavares Buckner, Solomon Thomas.
Was it Jimmy Ward?
Jimmy Ward,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Eric
the list.
Armstead, Eric Reed. Who else?
Buckner, Solomon.
Yeah. I mean, if you and then you guys aren't even saying Reuben Foster. Like, that's another first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At every level of this defense, from the secondary to the middle with Reuben Foster and down to the defensive line, it's a ton of first-round picks. This defense should be nice. Again, like Ali said, on paper. You know, it's the investment that we've made in that defense. I think that pressure on Robert Saleh because he's not the head coach. Kyle Shanahan chose not only to accept his position, but he also chose to be the play caller and offensive coordinator. He's put the pressure on him and everyone else. Go ahead.
I still think there's a little pressure on him because Shanahan. And the only reason I say I think there's a little pressure on him is because he wasn't the first choice. Like, there was an article that came out that Gus Bradley was the first choice and turned it down, and he recommended Saleh. So Saleh's like, I'm just here to prove that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan chose the right guy, or was recommended the right guy. So I think he has a little pressure as a first-time coordinator, but Shanahan's got a ton of pressure on him just in the Super Bowl last year. But he basically wanted John Lynch here. That's how John Lynch and this all came about as well. And the things that he has to do with an offense that doesn't have as much talent as the defensive side of the ball does, that Shanahan's going to be living up. If we're not scoring enough points, if we're not winning games, if the offense isn't producing, if the defense could shine, but if the offense goes out and flunks, it's a team sport. So who's going to take the hit for that? Shanahan is. Shanahan's going to take the hit for that as long as John Lynch isn't going to do that.
Right.
But the difference that I see this year is John Lynch is going to have Kyle Shanahan's back.
Right. Yeah, you can tell that they're not in the business of throwing each other under the bus. I mean, I know it's extremely early and everything seems to be sunshine and rainbows at this point, but I mean, you can just tell it's a marriage. And every opportunity you get, you know, I listen to the pressers over and over. And the one thing that I've gotten from this recent one that Kyle Shanahan did was he mentions how he said, you know, I'm used to being an offensive coordinator and there's problems on other parts of the team. You kind of just let it go. And I deal with what's in my realm of control.
Right.
He goes, now I'm the head coach. I get to leave what I'm focusing on, and I can go and help and assist in other places. I can actually go to, you know what I mean, the defensive side of the room and say, hey, let's get this fixed. This is what I think we should do. I can go to the special team side. That's what he's looking at now. Again, so for the new viewers who are there, there is a live chat. If you guys have some comments, all right, we're talking about why the pressure is on new head coach Kyle Shanahan, because John Lynch has done such an excellent job of the draft and free agency and surrounding himself with a supporting cast in that front office. We're talking about how Jed York knew to make the right hires and step back and you know, let football people handle football decisions. Yeah. If you guys want to discuss this, the live chat is open on the YouTube page, so feel free
to. And the phone line is open too, so if you wanted to give us a call, you could give us a call. Area code 628-888-3443. And we'll post that in the comment section as well, just in case if you want to call in live.
That's right.
And discuss something that you want to discuss with us as well.
That's right. So I just think that, so Nick, I mean, I know you were asking, you know, what's going to happen if things start falling apart, right? I think that for the most part, and if you listen to the podcast, you look at the writers, you look at what people are saying, it seems to be the majority of the consumers, the majority of them are all on the same page that John Lynch has done as much as he possibly can without being silly. Because we all recognize that this isn't a Super Bowl caliber team, but we also want us to be making strides in the right direction. We don't want us going out and breaking the bank to get the biggest name free agent because we're not one piece away. But at the same time, we want to get pieces that work, right, Ali? I mean,
exactly.
I don't really know how many pieces we are away.
It's a puzzle. Like when you're doing a puzzle. I know puzzles aren't that people don't do puzzles anymore, but you build the outside first, right? And you work in. So right now we're building the outside, and we're working in. We're building, just use it as a metaphor. Like we're getting the pieces in place to set this team up for making a run. Not just 1 year. We're not going to be a one and done kind of team. We're setting up the pieces to make this team competitive year after year after year after year and start dominating the NFC West again.
That's right. You're absolutely right, man. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's what we're doing. So you think about the frame of a puzzle, right? All you're doing is looking for the smooth corners, right? I'm not going to call it the foundation, but that's really what it is. It's what you're going to build from. You start there and you work your way in, all right? And the way you build a football team, you don't go out and get all these skill positions and defensive lines.
Right.
That's what he
Trenches.
did. Yeah, you start from the trenches, exactly. You build from there and you work your way out. You have a good offensive line, all of a sudden you can go from DeMarco Murray to Ezekiel Elliott.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? That's how the Cowboys did it, because of that beastly offensive line. You look at Seattle's success, right? Seattle loses a piece from their secondary every single season. Everyone will tell you Richard Sherman had a down year according to his standards, right? But why were they still good? That defensive line is always intact. That defensive line gets continuous pressure on quarterbacks. And that's what it is that is making everything work.
Secondary was so much better than
Exactly. And what was the 49ers' biggest weakness last year? That defensive line. They couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't generate any real pressure on the quarterbacks. Yep. So running backs were going all over the place. Quarterbacks had 6+ seconds before there was any pressure applied to them, and they got the chance to stand there and just pick us apart.
6 seconds for a quarterback that he was
all day long. So that's what's going to change here. And because like Ali said, we're starting with the puzzle. We're starting with the frame, which are the trenches, So I think that there's a lot of pressure on Kyle Shanahan this season. You know what I mean? So what do you think, Ali? I mean, how do you think he's going to handle the pressure? You think he's going to rise to the occasion? I tell you what, you don't have to tell me how you think he's going to handle the pressure. I think that he's a smart guy. I think he's been around football long enough to handle any kind of pressure, whether it's good or bad. If we start out 0-4, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to hit the panic button and say, oh, my God, he was the wrong hire. I'm going to say give him time. I think all of us are going to say that. So this is my thing. What do you need to see in hand this season? You can give me a record if you want. You can give me the way you want to see games going. Just anything. What do you want to see from our head coach this season to know that he can handle the pressure? What's going to make you have confidence in him going forward?
Well, I want to see adjustments after the second half. That's one thing that's huge. After the first half, making those adjustments, and that's something we didn't see last year. And I think that Kyle's a smart enough coach that he will be able to implement those, because he's always talking about, evaluating things and doing things, looking at different ways and different perspectives of stuff. So, I'm looking for more adjustments. I'm looking to be more competitive, more close in games. Like last year, we would go into the game and we were basically feeling like we lost the game before the game even started. That's the way I felt sometimes. I think we're gonna surprise a lot of people. I think we could be about a 500 team this year. Maybe if everything falls into place, we catch a lucky break. There's a lot of luck in football too, and luck meaning not Andrew Luck, but just luck, like catching breaks, whether it's staying healthy, getting a timely turnover, getting the refs to actually call the game fair. There's a lot of luck that plays into a factor of games. So if we get, some luck, things go our way, injury-free, I don't see why. We won't go injury-free because there's injuries every year, but I don't see why we can be 8 or 9 and 7.
Okay. See, that's what I'm talking about, man. So Ali's looking for second half adjustments, and to finish strong. I like that
because let's be honest, we came out in the first half of games last year pretty strong. You guys would agree, no?
Yeah, I mean, we were putting up anywhere from 14 to 17 points the first half, and to fall flat on our faces in the second half. We'd be lucky if we get a field goal in the last 2 quarters.
Field goal in the last 2 quarters, but I mean, I agree with you, Ali. I think that's the biggest thing is going to be adjustments. Chip Kelly couldn't do adjustments. He couldn't adjust to save the team or anything. But I don't think I think that just totally different than what a Chip Kelly system is. I mean, even going back to a Jim Harbaugh season, the offense is totally different. And you heard Eric Green say the other day that they play against this offense every day. This team is still having problems determining whether it's a run or a pass play right now.
Right.
And they're actually being better than the offense right now, but they're still having that issue determining because the plays look identical to everything that they do. So, I mean, the footwork of the running back to the receivers running their routes, or but they said that this offensive scheme is going to be built by the receivers pass blocking as well, and such like that. So, but I agree with you. I think the biggest thing that is going to have to be done is the second half adjustments. If we're down or if we're up together, and in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be something to see, man. I mean, which way the season is going to go, but I think we all want to see second half adjustments. No one wants to see it's weird because it's easy for us to say we don't want to see the same thing that we saw last year, but not to make an excuse for Chip Kelly. But if we come out the first half and we put up 17 points, I'm expecting if we do the same thing, we come out with another 17 points in the second half. That's 34 points. That should win you a game, But what Chip Kelly didn't account for is that, all right, you're running these styles of plays. You're running at this tempo. Now your opponent is going to go into the locker room. They're going to adjust. You have to adjust for their adjustments. And it wasn't so much that Chip Kelly changed or he didn't change the right way for their adjustments. And I think that's what held him back. And so we're hoping to see Kyle Shanahan do that. And from everything, exactly like what Nick was saying, the way they're running their plays, how the run plays look like the pass plays and all that. And we heard Pierre Garçon say, we run this play and then it sets up something later on.
Right, and that's what Eric Green was saying he's like, Kyle Shanahan said, okay, you got a 2-yard loss there, but don't worry, in a couple plays I'm going to get you back for that plus 30 yards. So that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see that excitement ability between the offense and even Garçon was saying the same thing. He says, or Eric Reed was saying the same thing. Was saying team is built with play action.
Yeah.
And they're going to get you one way or another. But the thing that I like that comes out of this locker room right now is the feedback we're getting from the players as to who Kyle Shanahan is. Not only is Kyle Shanahan an offensive coordinator, a good one at that, now being a head coach, but the way he breaks down plays and explains what a defense is doing and why they're doing it, and this is the reason why the offensive players do it. Marquise Goodwin said, I never knew why I was doing this before. But now Kyle Shanahan tells me this is exactly why you're doing it, because this is going to cause this breakdown, and this is what's going to happen, such and such and such. Not only does our offensive coordinator know offense, but he knows defense.
Yeah.
He knows the scheme of the defense. So that's going to help us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and him being in the defensive room, just like you said earlier, him being in the DB's room, him being in the offensive room, he's only going to learn more about these type of systems, which there are a lot of teams in our division that play the same defensive system.
Right.
So now our offense is going to be going up against that every day of practice. He's going to learn how to beat that. Is that why? Is that something like why Kyle Shanahan went into Seattle and did what he did?
Right.
Knowing that type of scheme and knowing where the holes are and where to break down.
Yeah.
And beat
The first game in Seattle, he didn't even have Julio Jones. It was a close one.
Right.
You know, then when you give him Julio Jones, they blow him out. You know, and those are things that are pertinent to success for a team. Before we continue, for the people who are watching right now, there is a live chat on YouTube. So you guys look to the right side of your screen. There's a chat. Share your opinions with us. We'll gladly read them on the air. Right. Feel free to type them in, and I'll read them out for you. Or you guys can give us a call if you want to be featured on this episode. 628-888-3443. Again, that is 628-888-3443. We're discussing the pressure being on Kyle Shanahan and how we think he's going to handle it. And to reiterate what Nick was saying, it seems like so far he's handling it pretty well. The first thing a head coach has to do is to convince his players he's adequate and equipped to handle the pressure of being a head coach.
Right.
And he's doing that. I mean, you heard Joe Staley. I know you talked about Pierre Garçon. You talked about Marquise Goodwin. Joe Staley is the 49ers veteran, and this guy is not shy. He's not afraid to talk to the press, you know. And Joe Staley was saying, I'm having more fun than I've had in years. Hasn't felt this good in a very long time. And he even said, I know players say that every season. I know players say that every offseason that they feel like things are going to take a turn and all that. He goes, but I really mean it. He was echoing what Garçon and what Marquise Goodwin were saying, is that, you know, before I would come in here and it's, oh, do your job. And it's like, oh, okay, yes, sir. But now it's like, do your job. And now I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's going to set something up down the road.
Right.
It's for a purpose.
They may not set up that play, but
right.
They may set up 4 plays later.
Yeah. And
you start biting them.
If I don't do my job well, this play cannot be successful, you know? And so it's like, yeah, I'm a left tackle and they're running to the right side, but I still need to do this to prevent this from happening.
Right.
And Joe Staley is understanding that, and he's ecstatic. I mean, if you look at his demeanor, Joe Staley hasn't seen this, you know, I don't know what the word is, but he's energized, reinvigorated, you know?
I would say ecstatic.
Yeah.
He's been lackluster.
He is. He has been. So and now he's
not this year. He has been best.
Right, but this year, I mean, Kyle Shanahan is stepping up to the plate. He knows it, and he's winning over the locker room already. We haven't taken a single snap with pads and contact yet, not even in practice. And the players are in there, hook, line, and sinker. Everyone's in on it. So I think Kyle Shanahan is going to be successful. And it's not a matter of wins and losses. That's not how we have to measure the success. It's about people buying in, believing, and seeing what happens even after they hit those rough patches throughout the season. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Because they will come. Those, like you just mentioned, those rough patches will come, and that's the sign of a great team, is how you go through adversity together. Like, you know, you get down, do you start playing the blame game? You guys, does the adversity bring you closer together? Does that bring the team closer together? Be like, hey, I know we messed up here, and in meetings and stuff, Shanahan be like, listen, you know, our backs are against the wall, everyone's against us right now, but this should bring us closer together to not make those same mistakes next time. And I think that's something that Kyle has learned from, because let's be honest, he's been around football teams since he was 6-7 years old with Mike, and you're seeing Mike at Niners practices now having his notebook and taking notes and doing whatever and having his opinion. And that's a very experienced another set of eyes and ears.
Absolutely.
And if you don't think that he's giving Kyle an opinion, you're crazy. He's definitely giving him, he's definitely giving him his thoughts and his perspective of what he sees and what he can do, his tips to improve the team there.
Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. We have another wonderful episode to bring you guys right after this. So for the viewers that are here, stay tuned. We are going to end this episode. We want you guys to know that Nothing But Niners is a website, nothingbutniners.com. You guys can check it out there. You guys can take a look at us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, any podcast. We have wonderful, wonderful podcasts there. The latest was with 49er senior writer Joe Fan. He was our recent guest. We also had someone like Taylor Price on there. We have episodes with players coming up very soon, already recorded. We're just waiting to drop them at the appropriate time. So you guys, make sure you check us out there, subscribe. All right. The pressure's on Kyle Shanahan. How do you guys think he'll handle it? Be sure to leave some feedback in the comment section. And stay tuned, all right? If you stuck with us this long, we will be right back with a new episode. And that episode, should we tell them what it's going to be about now?
Yeah, we can.
All right. 53-man roster predictions. Way too early without seeing a preseason game, but hey.
Why the hell not?
All right, Ali. We'll be right back, baby.